while sitting as in the highest seat in the office here, he would regularly conduct seances, consult mediums, often communicating with his deceased mother or deceased dogs on various topics. He would only sign bills in the House of Commons when the hands were aligned. So just a really interesting, kind of far out. The other thing that's very uncommon, I would say, you're talking about like violent entities, is actually seeing an apparition is also extremely rare. And as you might imagine, being a pioneer village, there are often people in historical costume from time to time. So as they were walking down the boardwalk, one of our tour guides jokes about the woman in old-fashioned clothing ahead of them. We can all see her, right? One of the customers says yes, the other says no, and our other tour guide says no. We saw in the early days of the lockdowns back in April, May, where reports of people experiencing paranormal activity in their own homes really exploded. And that certainly caught my attention because I've been in the ghost business now for 17, 18 years. Wow. And I still wrestle with the question, are ghosts real? If they're real, what are they? Are they something external from ourselves, or are they created internally somehow?
Welcome to the dark side of travel. So you've dared to come jaunt with me. Thank you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Courtney Maroc, ambassador of dark and paranormal tourism for Haunt Jaunts, a destination for restless spirits who dig hauntings, true crime, horror, Halloween, and weird days. I'll be your host and guide for this listening adventure. Looks like we've been cleared for takeoff, so buckle up, sit back, and enjoy the ride. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Haunt Jaunts. And today, I promised you this. I went over the results of the Haunting at Home Paranormal Adventure. And I said that, I was hoping I would get Jim to come be a guest, and guess what? He's here. So welcome, Mr. Dean, to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Definitely looking forward to chatting about your experiences and some of the other weird ones we've had from groups doing the haunting. Yeah.
Yeah, you had some really. How did that? Well, first, I will jump in. So, you were with. It's called. Is it the Haunted Walk or the Haunted Walks?
We kind of go by both, but okay. Officially we are the Haunted Walk, and we do operate in 3 cities in Canada, Kingston, Ottawa, and Toronto, Ontario.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. So I'm never sure. I'm like, do I say Haunted Walk or Haunted Walks? I think I said it both ways. I didn't want to get it wrong. So that's good to know. And that was going to be one of my questions. Where can people take your tour? Which I haven't been. I actually I'm nuts for Canada. Like, I want to move to Canada. And I have not been to those 3 cities yet. I've been the other 2 coasts, but no place in more the middle. So.
Well, definitely, as soon as it's safe to come, we would more than welcome you. And it's really interesting. In Canada, we kind of have a bit of a friendly rivalry with our American brothers and sisters to the south. But to be honest with you, our American customers are some of the most kind, generous, and awesome folks to have on tour. So we always love having folks from down south come and join us for sure.
Oh my goodness, I love hearing that. It's nice to know we go somewhere and we're not ugly Americans all the time. So, okay, so let's talk about, we'll jump into the Haunting at Home, because that, you reached out to me and just said, hey, we've got this thing, would you like to try? Which, thank you, because I did try it. I actually tried it with another, my friends that we did another podcast, but now that's since kind of gone defunct. But we had a blast, and we had crazy, like, I was like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen. Well, I should say they both think they live in haunted houses. I do not believe my house is haunted. But we all had experiences. So, and that's kind of like the results were shocking how high that you guys had.
Yeah, it's been really surprising. I mean, we had no idea what to expect when we first, launched the project and got it going. We did some test groups, of course, with our own tour guides, who maybe are a little bit of a biased audience. But it's been really overwhelming, both the kind of the support for it and the interest of people doing it. And thank you, to yourself and a few of the other partners we have had who've really stepped up and kind of helped us, spread the word in the different paranormal communities, which we're very appreciative. But yeah, I believe we're sitting around 64% or so of groups reporting some kind of activity, which is certainly considerably more than we expected. We didn't know if anything would happen to anyone. But the idea really came about with this central premise that we saw in the early days of the lockdowns back in April, May, where reports of people experiencing paranormal activity in their own homes really exploded. And that certainly caught my attention because I've been in the ghost business now for 17, 18 years.
Wow.
And I still wrestle with the question, are ghosts real? If they're real, what are they? Are they something external from ourselves, or are they created internally somehow? There's so much we don't know and so much we don't understand. So the idea of creating an experience which could be really fun to do around Halloween, of course. And in the early days of the pandemic, we didn't know, to lose Halloween would be a very cruel blow for all of us who love, ghost stories, the paranormal, that kind of thing. So to create an experience that's kind of fun and interesting to do, while also giving the opportunity to give us a bit of an insight into what's happening in people's homes was really exciting for us. And we're just so pleased that people have enjoyed it so much. And, like yourself, groups are having some eye-opening experiences that may be changing their perception of the paranormal in general, or what the paranormal might be.
Oh, that's interesting. So you said a whole bunch of stuff there that's super interesting. First of all, it's really like I wrestle with since I was a little kid, I have not every year, not even sometimes every decade, I might have an experience of some kind. And then I'll go through a phase where long dry spell, maybe I was just imagining it, and then boom, something else will happen that I'm like, well, what is that? Did that, what's going on? So it's interesting to hear even you are of the like, I'm still on the fence a little bit of what is it? So
Yeah, it is. I love. I was very into philosophy in my undergraduate degree, so I took like the philosophy of death and things of this nature. So ghosts encapsulate, or paranormal encapsulate, so many different things about ourselves, our culture, our society, life and death, obviously, but also scientific and how we acquire knowledge and all those things are about. So I think that's one of the reasons, I while I don't know really very much about ghosts, I can tell you about patterns that occur and these kinds of things, but I don't have a definitive point to stand on. Like, water. I know the temperature at which water boils, but I can't tell you with exact certainty too much about ghosts. And I think that's what draws me back is the internal sense or the intuition that there's something way more going on than we're actively perceiving. And trying to figure out what that is, I think, is really fun and just really fascinating.
I agree. I agree. That's totally what it is for me. I have my degree is in communication with double minor in humanities and poli sci. So the humanities side kind of, I know there's a whole bunch that goes into, but not from the philosophy side. But we had to take philosophy as part of humanities. And you're right. I mean, we're complex people that can create a lot of cuckoo-ness. So,
No doubt. No doubt.
well, just look at the election. No, just kidding.
I wasn't going to mention that. I was going to let that go.
I couldn't resist. It's over now. So, well, sort of. um, kind of like ghosts, right?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Um, but then at the other thing you said at the end was the amount of experiences that people had and the differences. What was there? Well, and something else, you said patterns. Did you notice any patterns within the haunting at home results?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you've asked because it's really fun to talk about. And we're still very much groups are still going through it, so it's a work in progress. And the results will change, but there some of the patterns we are seeing develop. Uh, and I should mention the haunting at home involves a series of experiments, and your listeners may be familiar with that. But we're doing a series of experiments, so it does seem that particular experiments are drawing particular unique outcomes. For example, the first experiment we do has to do with white noise. And just listening, it's just a white noise file. We have not put anything into it to subtly encourage people to feel one way or the other. But it's kind of the first step of allowing people to open themselves up and their minds up to perceptions they might otherwise close down or not embrace. So some very interesting things. One group reported, a few members, or at least one member, a strong sensation of hearing the sounds of being in a train station, which I thought was quite interesting. Several groups reporting music. Now, the interesting thing is completely different genres of music. One
Whoa.
person heard country. One person heard something like an old-time swing kind of music. But in that white noise experiments, it's almost like mini environments are being created in the minds of the experimenters of a sense of place or time. And I think that's really fascinating. The other one that, and I'll talk about some maybe specific examples later, but in general, the other one I find really fascinating is the automatic writing experiment. And on that one, of course, me as the host, I kind of ask a series of questions, and the group, without thinking, without engaging conscious thought, is to kind of write down first impressions and just scribble it down, whatever pictures, whatever comes to mind, just write it down. What is so fascinating is the number of groups who, without discussing anything ahead of time, or without any obvious connection, will start writing down very similar things. One group had the same name of a person appear for two of the experimenters. Others with very similar along the lines, because in that experiment we're trying to see if we can, if there's a haunting in a location, what other information can we gather? What can we learn about the person or the place they were in? And you'll see these similarities, which statistically seem pretty much impossible, knowing, of course, that two people not discussing in advance, writing down the same thing. So that one really I find fascinating, and I think that has a lot to. I wonder if that has a lot to do with our subconscious, and either the subconscious of the individual members in the group kind of tuning into what is around them, or the members of the group tuning into each other, which is equally fascinating, I think. So a lot of different kinds of things going on. I mean, maybe a few of the spookiest, and I believe you folks had some spooky events occur. So I won't mention those, but one that I found really creepy was a group that reported they used candles. We usually recommend electric candles because the lawyers ask us to do so, but they had real candles out, and what they described is, so one by one, a series of candles they lit up suddenly started to move as if being blown in the wind. In an indoor location, no windows or doors open. The first candle would go, the second candle would go, and eventually, when they finished, they all died down, kind of in the same order. I'm not quite sure what to make of that. Another group had a ghostly or an invisible entity, as far as they know, knock on their door during one of the experiments, which is kind of a really profound, amazing result as well. But perhaps my favorite, and I did share this so far we did a little initial results kind of tabulation and report, is that a couple were doing it together. And the husband or the boyfriend wrote down a name, a very specific name. Now, it turns out that this name was his partner's great-grandfather, but not a name they would commonly or at all discuss. I mean, it's hard to know your partner's ancestry unless you're really into it. And so they found that weird. Well, what was even more weird after getting this great-great-grandfather's name is that when the woman walked down the hall towards their bedroom after doing the haunting, the photo of her grandfather, the son of her great grandfather, was tilted at a very obvious and not before set angle. So all of these kind of stories are coming out, and that's why I am just so passionate about trying to get as many people as possible to do this, so that people can have their own experience, but also, of course, so we can start getting some of this data and seeing what we can make of it in the end.
Yeah, because I think that's what's so ingenious about this. Nobody's ever done this before. Such a first of its kind. And so far the stats like you've gotten are crazy to me, which I'll get to that in a second. But then these kind of results, like, what does that mean? And like the more people that you get, will there be more of that? Well, you could be on the cusp of finding like one of those commonalities that, like you said, with the boiling water, like maybe this will determine, you need X amount of people or some factor that you don't know. I mean, who knows what the formula might be, but I love the great great grandfather and the grandfather photo story, just because it's so personal, and that had to have meant quite a lot to that. I love hearing that for people.
It is amazing the emotional response we're hearing from people. Now, of course, we released this around Halloween, and it is meant to be a bit of a spooky experience. And, we're trying to save our business as, tourism has been absolutely devastated. And about half of our business is from visitors to our 3 cities. So, it's been a really tough time, but the emotional, and that's a very common thing too, is kind of one way or the other. Some groups are reporting kind of like at different points, sensations of fear. Terror maybe is too strong. I don't know if anyone's reported that, but fear. Whereas other groups are feeling, or individuals in those groups feeling a sense of calmness and serenity, which I also find extremely fascinating. So while we certainly have to market it a bit to try to get as many people playing up the spooky adventurous side, many people are having very wholesome, like awesomely positive experiences, which I love as well.
That's awesome. I think that's cool, because in the end, ghosts are scary because we don't know what they are, but really I don't think they want to I think we terrorize ourselves probably more of the unknown, and why can this thing that's supposed to be dead communicate with us if that's what's happening? Who knows what's going on? But
yeah, and it's always a tough position for us, where people want the thrill, and we do our traditional ghost tours, which are kind of storytelling tours, and then we have some more immersive experiences, like we usually do the haunting at a particular location, which combines an immersive haunted house experience with doing experiments and the storytelling around the location. And we also do paranormal investigations. We partner with a local paranormal investigation team. But in my 17, 18 years of doing this, on our tours at some of the most haunted locations in Ontario, and I would argue certainly in Canada, the number of reports we have of the paranormal being violent, or you hear, like, obviously in movies and poltergeist, you have people being slapped and all these kinds of things. But I think that is exceptionally, based upon our own evidence, having 1 million customers been on our tours, like it's not that common. And you do wonder, if the paranormal, if ghosts are a little bit more like Casper than they are something from The Conjuring, But again, that's one of those open-ended questions, and there's evidence kind of on both sides and things that makes the topic interesting, I think, and we'll just have to continue to learn and think about it. And as you say, you never know which domino piece falling will trigger the next and the next. So hopefully these experiments will help with that in some degree, or at least give people something to think about. Because for many years, even still, I get called the ghost guy or something a little pejorative along those lines. But after people have had these personal experiences, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, your perspective changes. and what you're willing to accept or ponder or allow space for really changes. So I do hope we get some real kind of skeptical people who try this as well. I know we've had a few who have had their, there's some interesting comments. You'll see some of my, my boyfriend was extremely skeptical, but, and then, then we hear this story. So engaging people in this way on this topic, in a fun, positive way, has been awesome for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's me. I'm more of a skeptic. Like I try to be as pragmatic as possible, but then I get sucked in.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
It just does. Um, but so, okay, so before I get to a certain stat that I'm so curious about, because I promised when I talked about the results, when I was sharing that in one of my podcast episodes, that I would ask the question if I got the chance to talk to you. So I've got to ask this question. But first, you had brought up, I didn't realize that in non-COVID times, is this a haunting based? Would this be like if when we're allowed to come and visit you in person and you do a haunting at some place, do you guys use a similar format?
Similar, a little bit different, but in the past several years we've done two hauntings that we've run. One is at a old pioneer village in Toronto, which at night is absolutely terrifying, and at Laurier House here in Ottawa, which is the former home of two of our prime ministers, and looks inside very much like Disney's Haunted Mansion, which is perfect.
Ooh.
And one of the prime ministers who lived there, and with the American listeners and viewers, check out our Prime Minister, William Lyon Mackenzie King. While sitting as in the highest seat in the office here, he would regularly conduct seances, consult mediums, often communicating with his deceased mother or deceased dogs on various topics. He would only sign bills in the House of Commons when the hands were aligned. So just a really interesting, kind of far out character. But the thing about his house is it's got this perfect Victorian kind of setting, and probably more seances real life seances have been conducted in that building than any other. So the experience is meant to be immersive. It is a little theatrical because it is meant to be kind of a fun, like you're in a haunted house. But we kind of combine the real life ghost stories, completely open-ended investigation elements with a little bit of theatrical fun and hijinks from time to time. And we love doing it. And it raises all sorts of questions about the same kind of questions that we have here, what makes a place haunted? What events have to occur? And there's just tremendous amount of fun to be in those really haunted buildings at night, just with a small group, working with a spirit box or even an occasional Ouija board, things of that nature. It's just kind of a fun things to do. So yeah, we have the ghost tours and those immersive experiences, and then the kind of more straight paranormal investigations, like you would see on TV with all of the equipment, and like you're doing an episode of Ghost Hunters or whatever your favorite show is.
That sounds. I want to do that one. That sounds phenomenal, because you had me at Haunted Mansion, but then adding in that he does, did seances and tried to communicate with his dogs. I'm in. That's now on my bucket list.
And it is obviously the longer we hang around these haunted places, the more stories we kind of get, and it does seem like people, your individual makeup, whatever that is, plays such a huge role in your perceptions. So different people in the same group at the same time, a couple feet away from each other, will have vastly different experiences or interpretations of events, which again, what does that mean? How do we interpret that? But it's really fascinating to me.
That's so good. That's so cool. I would always be down the rabbit hole trying to figure out, why did that person say this, or experience that or whatever. And that Pioneer Village, did over Halloween, fall, did they open up and do a drive-through like ghost tour or something there?
We were fortunate enough that we were able to do our traditional ghost tours from about, I think it was about August until the end of October, early November. So we did get those in. And I mean, that's a really, the other thing that's very uncommon, I would say, you're talking about like violent entities, is actually seeing an apparition is also extremely rare. But that's an occasion where we had two of our staff members and two customers who had arrived late for a tour. So, they were kind of being walked through the village to catch up, with their tour group. And as you might imagine, being a pioneer village, there are often people in historical costume from time to time. So as they were walking down the boardwalk, one of our tour guides jokes about the woman in old-fashioned clothing ahead of them. We can all see her, right? One of the customers says yes, the other says no, and our other tour guide says no. Two of them see this apparition walk down and into one of the buildings. And Black Creek Pioneer Village in Toronto is if anyone's in the area, you have to join us on a tour there for sure, if you're really interested in having your own experience. Of course, we can't predict when things are going to happen, but I would say that's the most active site we have. Many, footsteps behind you, that kind of thing, walking up the stairs, down the stairs on the other side, the whole group hears those kind of things. So yeah, we love Black Creek Pioneer Village for sure.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. But that's crazy. It's great. That's one thing I've heard things, I've smelled things, never have seen an apparition. Seen a shadow, but never an apparition. So but it's like you said, that's one of those things. It's just not common. Kind of like I really don't feel, I'm with you. I don't think that the, scary, violent hauntings are as common as certain things would like to make us believe.
Yes. Usually profit driven too.
Yes. The scarier the better. Give me your money and I'll terrify you. And okay, so now this result, because this one blew my mind. There were actually more houses and townhouses, or people reporting that that's where they did their experiment, than in apartments and was it condos?
Yes.
Was that house? So it was like 70-20 or something, 60-20 higher. Yep. But it was equal no matter where, how many they reported equal, right? That it was like 67 or 64% or something.
Another huge surprise, because, we think about it. I don't know if you feel the same, but you think a house would be more haunted than like a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, a studio apartment. And we've had people do it in all of those settings. And as you said, very surprisingly, percentage-wise, between those groups, while we have had more groups in homes do it, percentage-wise, the groups reporting activities from those two are identical, or as of the last update. Which again defies kind of expectation. We imagine some people are doing it in a house in a basement, that like finding the spookiest setting possible in their home, which then may influence their experience. But in an apartment where you have fewer spaces to choose from, it seemed likely that it would be significantly less. I'm not sure what to make of the fact they're exactly the same. I mean, it was eerie when I was typing in those numbers, of course, and they come up identical. That felt like, I was being haunted myself. But it's hard to know what to make of that, other than if we think the underlying premise is true, which is part of the experiment, that our homes, or where we live, are more haunted than we think. Now, again, that could be the physical location that is haunted. And we did have people who lived beside, graveyards or cemeteries doing it, which is awesome. But also the other part of that is, the other important question is, are we haunted? Can we be haunted wherever we are? And so far, based on what the information we're talking about here, the tie, well, it seems like the answer is yes.
That trips me out. When I read that, I was like, say what? I couldn't believe that. That was super interesting. And so how long can people still do this, the haunting at home? Is it indefinite? Can they order it?
It won't be indefinite, because we do hope to kind of revamp our website a little bit in 2021, which may offset it. But certainly throughout Christmas, We'd love people to be doing it early in the new year. It's a great holiday gift. We have gift cards you can buy so people can, do the haunting whenever they like. But definitely a few more months, at least another 90 days, I would say, after Christmas to the end of March, it will be up. And we're greedy for data, so to speak, of getting all the information we can, and really looking forward to maybe coming back on your show or others and just talking about the final results and where we're at. And on our own podcast, which I host, Haunted Talks, we'll be doing a full episode on that as well. And I hope to bring in some of the people, for example, like yourself, who did it and had unique experiences, so that we can, it's one thing when I kind of report it, and hopefully I come across as honest and straightforward, but hearing it from out of the mouth of someone who experienced it is always a little bit different. So I'm very eager to, I don't want to rush the process, but I'm kind of eager to get to the end, so we look at everything all at once.
I can totally appreciate that, because it's so interesting. And I'm curious because Christmas time is like the second most haunted time of the year after Halloween with the winter solstice. So I kind of I think I'm going to redo it. I think I'm going to get it again and try it on December 21st and just see. Does it open any other portals or anything, or am I more in tuned, or I'm just curious. I'm curious because I want to know. So
and the other thing I think would be really fascinating is for people who have tried it to try it again, whether in a different place or the same place, different people or the same people, because our other thesis is kind of each investigation is different. And that's the true whether you're in the field with all the equipment at a haunted location or doing the haunting at home. I think people might get very different results just based on when they do it. Moving it closer to Christmas, is that going to evoke certain kind of emotions or insights you might not get around the spooky time around Halloween? So I'm hopeful people do get 90 days to try it essentially as many times as they like, in as many places as they like. So certainly for us, the more the merrier.
That's awesome. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. That's a kind of a holiday. I like that. And what about, do you have any, well, hopefully with vaccines coming and everything, do you think you'll be more, 2021 will get more back to normal? Or would you put out another, a haunting at home kind of a product?
Yeah, definitely open to it. As we all feel, who knows what happens next in this saga? We're all doing our best to live through, and I hope everyone out there is, healthy and doing their best. And it's hard on all of us to kind of look too far into the future. But I've really enjoyed the process. So certainly it's something we could do again. Having digital products is probably going to be important to our business in the short term. We are kind of hoping once vaccinations really start spreading through, and we do anticipate being a little behind you folks in the US because we don't have the manufacturing facilities to make the vaccines here. So we're importing them. So we may be a couple of months or a little bit more behind you folks. But we are hoping, fingers crossed, that there's this kind of pent up desire to go out and do fun things with other people in a much less stressful environment. So we would love to get back to, there's 5 or 6 sites we normally tour, which we couldn't this year with the social distancing requirements and those kind of things. So I'd say our priority is to kind of just get back to doing what we do best, which is storytelling and providing paranormal adventures in person. But it's been it feels like it's been a successful experiment into this line, and I'm definitely giving it some thought. If anyone has any ideas as to different angles we could take on this or different experiences, I always appreciate any feedback or any ideas anyone might have, because
a little brainstorming.
If anything comes to mind, be sure to let me know.
Oh, that's cool. I hear that, people. So just contact him. Go to thehauntedwalk.com, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the
Oh, yeah. Hit him up on the socials. I forget about that all the time. And you, these campfires, that's the other thing that's really cool. I forgot to say that I was going to ask you about that. That's, people can, because right now, like you have a season, right? Probably because of cold weather and COVID, who knows? You Do you operate, or am I presuming? Do you operate a certain time of year?
We certainly do slow down. Typically, we do nightmare before slash after Xmas tours around this time of year, talking about creepy Christmas traditions and those kind of things. But we've decided to cancel those out of abundance of caution. And our tour guides have worked so hard for us this year. And our tour guides are absolutely amazing, wonderful, talented people who have really stepped up and helped us help keep the business going. So we want to make sure we give everyone a little time off, a little downtime now. But January tends to be a slower month. So we do have a little bit of seasonality. But this is kind of the first time we're not doing kind of anything for a few months, as we have kind of shut down now until who knows when in 2021. Demand is not overly high in the winter, but once we get to March, April, things do start ramping up. So we'll see if we're able to offer something at that time. But the virtual campfires were a blast. And this came about because mostly through the podcast Haunted Talks, I often talk to other ghost tour companies and their tour guides because, they're kind of our brothers and sisters in arms out there telling stories every night. And, we love to hear what they're up to and their own individual stories. They have some of them which are incredible. But we kind of had this roster of friends who are all some of the best storytellers in the world. So we thought, let's get together around the virtual campfire, create a system where haunted creators have a chance to make a little bit of money, particularly those, for example, we had some folks from Australia who are completely shut down, but giving them a chance to kind of do something, get a little exposure, make a little bit of money. And they were just a blast. We had a great community around them, just a lot of fun. And we did six in the end. And all of the recordings are still available on our website, hauntedwalk.com, if you want to go back and check out some of the various topics like battlefield ghost stories or stories about haunted jails. We did a midnight story where I tell my favorite gruesome Canadian history story about the Black Donnellys. So that was really fun too. And, it's just so important this year, and like just to connect with other people, whether it be through Zoom, for the screen here, but just to get a little bit of that enthusiasm and excitement from each other about a shared kind of passion, I think was really important. So that was really fun. We are hoping to do more in the future on various topics as we go once we hit the new year. But it's just a lot of fun and privileged that so many in the ghost tourism industry are just phenomenal people. Great to work with, just talented folks. And yeah, they were a blast for sure.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was so, I'm like, you are so, like, really, your title is creative director, right?
That's right.
For good reason. You're so creative. I'm like, whoa, the campfire.
I certainly can't take all the credit. We got a very great team, and all of us work hard together on it. And often I get asked, when am I going to get a real job, almost kind of thing. And it's like, well, we got a lot of stuff, really interesting stuff going on here, and it certainly feels like a blessing to have a job, where I'm not being a bureaucrat or pushing paper, but I get to spend my days thinking about ways of engaging people on the paranormal. And, I'm having a blast doing it.
I think that's awesome. And do people have to pay for the, if they want to watch the virtual campfires?
Yeah. They're $10 Canadian, so that's at $1.50 US. No, it's not quite that cheap. I think it's around $8 or something US if folks are interested. And so 50% of that $8 goes directly to the performers, 25% goes to us, and then 25% to pay for the Zoom costs and all that kind of stuff. But it's a great way to support other folks, and there were some really good stories. And if people are interested in those particular topics, I definitely urge you to check them out.
Oh, that's fantastic. And there was something else on there too. Another virtual. I don't know if I have let me see if I still have I do still have it up. Okay. Try to save my bandwidth. Sorry for the pause, everybody. Where was it? Where did I see it? It was no, that was it. The Haunting at Home and Virtual Haunted Campfires. Okay. We did cover that. Okay, well, good. Whew. I was like, there was something else really cool. We already talked about the other really cool.
I thought you might have a great idea. I was interested. I was like, I wonder what it is.
No, I'm called Whoopsie for a reason. That was an example of that. And then, So we went over holiday, end of year, nothing this year, and then not sure what's going to happen next year, but I love that you were so collaborative and with other people like that. How did you find it? Like, do you have like a ghost tour guide group on Facebook or something, or how did you find everybody?
Well, I mean, a lot of it was through the podcast and just the recruitment of guests, or people I'd already spoken to. So I was like, well,
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, I've already spoken to, Dale Jarvis out on the East Coast here in Canada. So, let's call him up and see if he wants to, be one of our featured guests. So I have a little bit of a pool to draw from. And then there was a few other people we were kind of targeting as well, depending on the topic. For example, we wanted some Civil War, people who could tell about Civil War ghost stories. So we had Mark Brew on from Haunted Vicksburg, who does a really nice job as well. So some folks we already knew, other folks we reached out to, but everyone was very enthusiastic to participate, which was fantastic.
Oh yeah, because that's a great. It's a great to connect and such a good diversion, and it's just brings happiness to people, and it's been fun to kind of challenge ourselves. How can we? Okay, so life isn't normal right now, but how can we make it different? And you guys, I mean, wow, you stepped up and really let's do this. So that's so cool. I love it. And your podcast, I'm like, your voice is just so, I go on my walk and I just listen and you're so good. Like you were born for this.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that. And we do put a lot of hard work into it, myself and my fiance Michelle, who's our audio editor, which is very convenient for me. So she makes me sound much better than I actually am, of course.
No.
But the podcast is just kind of like for me a natural extension where, in some ways, it's a selfish journey because I'm exploring the topics or interviewing the guests on my own kind of paranormal voyage of trying to get my own thoughts in order or learning more about it as we go on. So it's a little selfish in that part, but I do, I've always loved stories, and my undergraduate degree was in film and English. And so thinking about, story structure, how to convey certain things through, your timing, the visual images, your cadence, all of these kind of things I find really, really fascinating. And the storytelling, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on storytelling as well, but it's such an amazing thing to me because it is very much a shared experience between the teller and the listener, with the actual images appearing in the listener's mind, which is a very supernatural, almost kind of transference of experience. But I very much love storytelling and working with our teams, on storytelling techniques and those kinds of things. And storytelling is something you can readily apply to a lot of different fields. So if you're in a situation where you're doing pitches often, or you have to present to the public or to your managers, your bosses, the board, whatever it may be, I would suggest try working some storytelling into those things you're doing, because people connect with emotions. They don't connect with names or dates or those kind of things. They connect with the emotion they perceive that you're sharing with them. So if you can strike someone outside of their purely logical thoughts and connect with them on a deeper level, which is, I think, best done through storytelling, well, that could open up a lot of doors for you. So that's always something I like to mention is storytelling can be used in a lot of settings, and it is an art unto itself. And I'm by no means an expert, but I'm a practicing technician, I guess, and always looking to improve and find new ways. I'm sure we could ask Michelle all the things I need to improve directly, but we won't bring her into the conversation right now.
That's for next time.
Yeah, that's for next time.
We'll have a whole storytelling how you set it up and how she polishes it up.
Exactly.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I did not mean to keep you this long, but it's your fault because you're very interesting. So.
Well, I love talking about the paranormal. I was worried when you said only half an hour. I was like, I don't know if I can do that.
I just didn't want to monopolize your time, but I'm so thankful that you did that. And really, if you want to ever come back, and this is great. I mean, I'm so grateful you reached out. I had a blast. I thought the haunting at home was phenomenal. I mean, when I first read it, I was like, well, this is amazing. And then when I did it, I'm like, wow, this is, I really hope more people take the time because you did great.
I really appreciate that as a fellow paranormal podcaster and someone interested in the topic. That certainly means a lot to me. And I'd love to give your audience a little something, and that's we can extend. We had a promo code for Haunt Jaunts. I believe it was just Haunt Jaunts. So we'll extend that promo code, which will be for 50% off until the end of March. So if anyone is hearing this later, anytime before then, half price for you, of course. If you're friends of Courtney's, you're friends of ours. So definitely get in there, try it up, write up your experiences, so we can talk about them a little bit later.
Wow, Merry Christmas. Wow, thank you. Okay, well, guys, I mean, you have been so generous with your time, with this, I mean, everything. I can't thank you enough. And please go check out The Haunted Walk, hopefully in 2021, when we're just going to, one day, COVID's going to be done.
Yes.
And then we can get
glorious
back.
day it'll be.
But if you've really enjoyed Jim, go to is it the Haunted Talks or just Haunted Talks?
The podcast is Haunted Talks.
Haunted Talks.
And our website, Haunted Walk, is that's where Haunted Talks name cheekily comes from. Hauntedwalk.com is the best place to go for everything related to us.
Yes, because you have a tab up there that will take you straight to the but you can also just type that in and get it wherever I get mine off of iTunes. Yeah. So if you have enjoyed Jim, I'm telling you, just go listen. He's amazing. It's good to know where you get the storytelling from. You've learned it and it's natural, and I think it just all comes together. You're a pro.
Well, thank you very much. It's been absolute with you, and speak to the audience out there as well. And anytime you want me back, just let me know.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm taking you up on that, and I've got you recorded that you offer that. So woohoo! Okay, well, thank you again. And again, go to hauntedwalks.com. You'll find everything there. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Courtney. Take care, everyone.